What's your answer to that question?
England fans will be getting ready for today's big game.
I got the same opinion because the quarterfinal would be a success. Semi-final would be a fantastic achievement. I don't think that we actually will have something to do with the World Cup winning it with the final, because as you could see tonight, we're lacking some quality of very, very crucial positions. I always kept complaining about the right back, and this time we got punished because of the right back. Joshua Kimmich is a fantastic player in midfield, but he's not a right back. And all of a sudden he had to play left back. And then we have two wingers with Sané and Wirtz. All of a sudden they always turned in. But Nagelsmann did some good changes, brought on some pace on the flanks and got Undav in. And all of a sudden, Undav turned himself into our hero for tonight. And that's always a great story, which we would like.
At the Monterrey Stadium. Early free kick just on the edge of the centre circle for Japan, who are playing in all blue jerseys, deep blue jerseys, shorts and socks. Tunisia in their all white jerseys and shorts and socks, the slight red trim just on the edge of their shorts. Andy, in terms of what this match means for Japan, obviously coming back twice against Netherlands in that 2-2 draw for them a week ago. But they need to build on that. They need to get the 3 points, particularly given Netherlands' really impressive 5-1 win over Sweden a few hours ago. Yeah, they do. Having said that, I like Japan in that game. I thought they played some really good football. They've got some excellent footballers, technically gifted, quite athletic as well. You know, the quick. Japan player's gone down in the box. Our referee is Istvan Kovac from Romania. Just pausing play. Imagine he's having the VAR officials have a look in his ear. The Tunisia captain, Ilyes Skiri, judged to have not given away a penalty, perhaps, when he was bringing down Ayase Ueda. What do you make of that, Andy? Yeah, well, it's going to be an interesting one. I think if you're probably looking at it in the Premier League this season, they might have given it, but I think that the threshold has been higher in this World Cup, because there was definitely contact there, but the threshold is higher, and you can see there the penalty hasn't been given. I don't think it is a penalty, but we just don't know these days, do we? It's so difficult to tell even what constitutes a penalty. Last season, the Premier League isn't perhaps something you would have seen a couple of seasons ago. So Istvan Kovac taking charge of this 1000th game in a World Cup. And Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president, is in attendance as well for the occasion at the Monterrey Stadium. Early opportunity, Japan perhaps thought, but that penalty shout not going their way. And as the ball goes out of play on the far side, let's talk you through the two teams then. The first, Tunisia 11 for their new manager, Hervé Renard. What a weird situation for him to come in charge after the team have already played one group game at this World Cup already, and significantly he has made a couple of changes, 3 changes to that starting 11 from that 5-1 defeat to Sweden on Sunday, as the ball's crossed into the area from the left. That Hannibal Mejbri, one of the Burnley players in this Tunisia starting 11, and he's put that one wide, but he is the catalyst. He's what everything goes through going forward from Tunisia. Yeah, it was a great effort as well. At one point I thought he was going to cross the ball. I thought he was going to look to try and pick somebody out in the box, but he's just whipped it even more. He's got great pace on it, and the keeper wasn't expecting it, and he's had to scramble late to try and catch it. It just probably drifted a yard or two wide, but a really good effort. Hannibal Mejbri with the assist actually for the goal
that Tunisia scored in that defeat to Sweden on Sunday. He is so important for them going forward as Japan looking to start really positively at the other end. Made the run into the air, the cutback across the face of goal, and it's found its way in. And it's Crystal Palace's Daichi Kamada who has put Japan ahead in the opening 3.5 minutes of this match at the Monterrey Stadium. It was a really dangerous cutback from the left, plenty of blue shirts in the area, and Palace's Daichi Kamada has put Japan ahead in the early stages of this match. Tunisia 0, Japan 1.
Yeah, it's a great start for Japan, really is. Some really incisive play, particularly central combinations. We spoke about the quick play, getting the technical players on the ball. Nakamura does brilliant on the left-hand side when the ball eventually comes to him. He twists, he turns, he gets to the byline, and then you're asking, can he pick somebody out? And he picks somebody out absolutely brilliantly. And Kamada with the finish. There's plenty of bodies in there, maybe even a couple of ricochets.
Tunisia simply just don't get it clear, don't deal with that ball, do they? It's such a difficult ball to deal with from Nakamura, Andy. Just the pace as well with the cutback, and that's why it's so dangerous. Tunisia players, I guess, afraid of tackling it and perhaps knocking it into the back of their own net. Regardless, it's a goal ahead now for Japan. Yeah,
I mean, there's 5 Tunisian bodies in that 6-yard box, and they can't get anybody out. And I'm actually not too sure. I mean, at first I thought it was a brilliant finish, but I'm actually not too sure that Kamada meant that type of finish. It looked like it hit the inside of his leg and went into the goal, but he won't care. It says Kamada, goal, and it's a brilliant start for Japan.
Well, that's his second goal in 2 games for Japan at this World Cup. And remember, he got the second equaliser for Japan very late on in that match against the Netherlands. He didn't know very much about that one either. The ball was coming in and it glanced off his head into the back of the Netherlands net in that game. And again, he wasn't too sure about that one. As they go forward again, Japan looping up high, that ball, that effort from Ueda.
Yeah, well, Tunisia are going to have to be careful here, because every pass that goes forward, it's fallen to a Japan player. They're making good runs, they're getting in pockets, and Tunisia are really struggling to deal with it. And Japan looking really dangerous, and you can see why Tunisia conceded so many goals in the opening game, and they look so open. There's gaps everywhere, and you know, considering the formation that they're playing, you would expect it to be kind of good solidity in the middle of the park, but it just looks like there's gaps everywhere. And you know, we're only a couple of minutes in.
We're only 6 minutes in. Japan leading by a 1-0 already. Daichi Kamada putting them ahead, and aware that despite the fact we're 6 minutes into this match, I haven't yet run you through the starting 11s, so we'll try to do that. But it's been an action-packed first couple of minutes from Japan as they're on the ball again at the moment. But yes, as we're saying, 3 changes made by Tunisia's new boss Hervé Renard to the Tunisia starting 11. Significantly, Ayman Darman coming in goal. He's the much more experienced goalkeeper, replacing Muhab Shamak, who really didn't impress starting for Tunisia last week, and he's got more to think about here as Japan get forward again. It's cleared by Tunisia, edge of their area, and they will try to just build together a little bit of passage of play here. But then they've got a back 5, as Andy Reid was referring to there, really trying to shore up their defence, which was so impressive for them in qualifying. Ali Abdi alongside Dylan Bron, that's another change for them coming into the defence for Tunisia. This is his 3rd World Cup. Surprising for him to be left on the bench last week. Montasar Taubi, Omar Rakik, the goal scorer against Sweden, and Jan Valeri, the former Southampton man, played 43 times for them in the Premier League. That's the back 5 for Tunisia. Midfield 3, Norwich's Anis Ben Salamani alongside Ilyas Skiri, their captain, again playing in at a 3rd World Cup for his country, alongside Burnley's Hannibal Mejbri. Mentioned him already. Bit of a good effort from him early on, which was off target, but he really is the catalyst for Tunisia going forward. He set up Omar Rakik for their goal on Sunday against Sweden. And then Celtic Sebastian Tunekti starting on the left of the front 2 alongside Ilyas Saad. So all 3 players who play their club football in the UK in this Tunisia squad starting for Hervé Renard. But well, as you say, Andy, the basis for this selection, I suppose, from Hervé Renard was to try and stay strong at defence at the back, and already they're going to have to go to plan B so early conceding.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they need to get into a little bit more of a block, because on transition, every time the ball turns over, there's a forward pass available for these Japan players, and there's so much space in between the lines, and you know, you'd be looking, going, right, keep the shape, let's try and play our way into this game a little bit, get a little bit of a feel, because you know, if the Japanese get another goal, it's pretty much game over.
Trying the tactic of the ball over the top, Tunisia, just to try and get over the top of that Japan defence. It ran all the way out of play. Ali Abdi tried to keep it in, and here comes the second, perhaps just wide. An excellent clearance in the end from Dylan Braun. We were talking about his experience coming into the back line for Tunisia, and he just got the ball away. It could have been a second for Daichi Kamada. Cross came to him from Ayase Ueda from the right. Kamada trying to run onto it, and a last-ditch tackle from Dylan Braun to concede the corner. So close to a second, though, Japan. Yeah, Ueda does brilliant there, and Kamada thought he was just going to get another tap in, but Tunisia are all over the place. It's just a long ball, nothing in it really, but the defending is awful. Corner then for Japan, going to be taken by Ito from the left-hand side. Cross over to the far post. It's poured away by the Tunisian keeper, then comes back in, and he has to try and keep that one off the goal line. Just about manages to scram that away, Armin Darman. They are all over the place defensively at the moment. Andy Reid, you're shaking your head. Yeah, I mean, it's horrendous defending, I have to say. That they're all over the place. The shape is miles off. Nobody kind of tackling, nobody getting close to anybody, nobody marking, nobody picking up. Oh, I just wonder if that's gone in. It was just looking at the replay, shot from the right
so
of the area. Ayase Ueda certainly summoned the ball, crossed the line before Darman got his left hand to it to tip it around his left post out for another Japan corner. Clearly the whole of the ball didn't cross the line, otherwise I imagine the referee's watch would have gone off. There he is, just having a word with some of the Tunisia and Japan players in the area. Maybe the VAR officials are having another look at this. At the moment, it remains Tunisia 0, Japan 1. Japan ready to take their second successive corner. As he's... I mean, it was very close. It was very close to being a goal. Probably had to be in centimetres, really. It's very, very heart and mouth situation, certainly for Darman, who coming back into the team would have wanted to have tried and kept a clean sheet, make a good impression. That corner from Ito doesn't beat the first man, and Tunisia get it away up towards the halfway line. So Japan starting brilliantly in this match, leading by a goal to 0 in the opening 11 minutes. Daichi Kamada could have had a second, and they line up with changes as well. 4 from them from that 2-2 draw with the Netherlands. Takefuso Kubo, one of their big players, is injured, picking up a knee injury in that draw with Sweden, so that's really unfortunate for them. Oh, just seeing it there, Andy, a replay on the monitor. You said centimetres of the ball perhaps not crossing the line, and honestly, it was a sliver of the ball that didn't go over the goal line. Centimetres between a second for Japan and not. Yeah, I mean, that's incredible that's not a goal. It's so close to being a goal. It really is. It's almost like a 1/20th of the ball isn't over the line. It's almost a second for Japan. That's the closest I've ever seen a goal that's not a goal. It's the closest I've ever seen to being a goal. It was incredible. But Tunisia need to sort themselves out here. We've just seen a shot of Renard just before that last corner, and he's going nuts. He can't believe what he's seeing. Some of the defending is awful. The shape is all over the place. Gaps between the units. Every time the ball turns over, Japan look like they're going to score. He's only had 5 days to work with this team as well. It's so difficult to come in at this point in a tournament. And we were saying ahead of kick-off, there's always such high expectations for all of these teams, and certainly they will have seen Tunisia over the last few years, their North African rivals Morocco, do so well at major tournaments, and wanting to try and push on as well, just trying to put together a bit of a passage of play. But if you think back to the last World Cup, and when there was that Kaoru Mitoma, was the ball outside the dead ball line when he got the cross in for one of their goals at that World Cup. This was further over the line than that example. Yeah, it's honestly incredible. Like I said, I've never seen it so close to being a goal, but it not being a goal. It was an incredible save, I suppose you have to say that.
But you know, you talk about the manager there, he's only had 5 days to work with the players. The players on the pitch need to be taking responsibility for some organisation here. You know, the centre-backs need to be keeping hold of them midfielders and say, don't be jumping out your spaces, because they're going to try and press, or when they are in possession, the shape is kind of too expansive, and when the ball turns over, like I said, there's gaps all over the pitch, and way too easy for Japan to get into them spaces.
So Tunisia 0, Japan 1, and the first kind of passage of play, really, 13 minutes into this match, where Tunisia have been able to try and put some passes together whilst they are with the ball just in the centre circle, try and run you through the Japan starting 11, which haven't been able to do yet. 14 minutes now into this match. Zion Suzuki in goal for them, as he just watches the ball be shepherded out of play by one of his defenders. Back three of Bayern Munich's Hiroki Ito, with 2 changes coming alongside him in defence. Ko Itakura, who is captain this evening, and alongside Takahiro Tomiyasu, obviously a player fans particular of Arsenal know very well. Has more than his fair share of injuries in his time at the Emirates. Now Ajax, he's making his first start of this World Cup, and they've got a corner to defend here, Japan. Tunisia going to have an opportunity from the right, try and sweep this delivery in. The referee's not happy with what was just going on in the box there, so take 2 and they'll go back for that. Midfield for Japan, Kaiti Nakamura, Daichi Kamada, score of their goal. Also Al Tanaka of Leeds, another one of the changes coming in, and Ritsi Doan, who was very bright in midfield in the Netherlands draw, as they wait for this second take 2 of this corner from the right. Saad delivers over to the far post, and it's headed up and wide, and will go out for a throw-in on this near side touchline as Japan defend the goal to our right-hand side. And then the front 3 for Japan as they wait for this throw-in to be taken quickly. Kaishu Sano, Junior Ito, the 4th and final Japan change. And Ayase Ueda, we've already mentioned him. Brilliant season for him in the Dutch Eredivisie. Last season's runaway scorer, and almost setting up Daichi Kamada for a second, as this is the first real opportunity for Tunisia to try and get a touch in the Japan box, and they don't really do anything with it, and Japan easily get it away and go off on the counter with Daichi Kamada, their goal scorer, seeing lots of time on the ball. Nice tackle in from Norwich's Anis Ben Slimani, and they are trying to, well, recover, I guess, from the shock of conceding so early. They still haven't got a grip at all, any rhythm in this game yet, Tunisia.
No, they haven't. You know, even that turnover there, once the corner got cleared, nobody marking the player up front on his own. He gets hold of the ball, brings a couple of midfielders into play, and then Japan end up on a counter-attack. They're so open on transition. There's way too many gaps, no organisation, no structure in the play, in possession or out of possession. It's been really comfortable for Japan, who've made a really good start, but every time they go forward, they look like they can score a goal.
1-2 between Ito and Leeds' Al Tanaka down the left-hand side. Very different rhythm to this game than what Japan experienced against the Netherlands in their first match. Then they were just watching, really. The Netherlands dominate possession, and they are the team doing that in this match at the moment. Takahiro Tomiyasu sending it back to Tanaka in the centre circle, and yeah, we're seeing the stats confirming what we're just saying. Almost 60% of possession for Japan in the opening 18 minutes of this match, and Tunisia just not able at all to get a grip on this game, as Hannibal Mejbri went down, free kick not given, and Japan again will try and build from their own half. But this match a very important one because of that win for Netherlands earlier over Sweden, 5-1, that win a few hours ago. Tunisia know that if they lose this match, and they are losing by 1-0 at the moment, they will be eliminated from this World Cup with a group game still to play. So that is what is at stake for Tunisia. And for Japan, well, they would have seen what the Netherlands would have done, and they would probably want to make their own statement as well, following what Ronald Koeman's side were able to do.
Yeah, and they've made a good start to that. You know, there's every chance that they go on and win this game 2-3. even 4-0, judging by how this game has started. I think they've been really clever in the formation. Kamada, Nitto, Tanaka and Sano in midfield. They've flooded the midfield, they've overloaded in there, and the Tunisians haven't been able to deal with it. And every time the ball goes short, they turn it around the corner, finding them pockets. 2 10s in there, and it's a real struggle for Tunisia.
Saad on the ball at the moment. He was bright, one of the only bright points really in that Sweden match. He was trying to get forward again, but showing far too much of that to the blue shirts of Japan. One back by Tanaka, and then sent back to their goalkeeper by Nakamura. So, as Andy's saying, be useful for Japan to try and improve their goal difference, although head-to-head is obviously how things are being decided in the group stage at this World Cup. And at the moment, with Japan winning this match, they move level on 4 points with the Netherlands. So Netherlands top, Japan second, both of them on 4 points, taking those 2 automatic promotion places in knockout stages. As again, Ueda is trying to run forward, and Ito's gone down, just clutching his back, edge of the Tunisia area.
I think that's one of them keepers being overprotected there. I mean, the keeper, by the time he jumps and by the time he uses his hands, has a 1.5 foot advantage, and he still can't come and claim. You know, and Ueda is challenged for the ball, but it's not a free kick for me. Keeper's well overprotected.
Just having another look at the brilliant ball from Nakamura for the Daichi Kamada goal a few minutes into this match. Scored in the 4th minute. We've seen a lot of early goals in this World Cup, and Japan, although they haven't added to that, absolutely dominating every aspect of this game at the moment. As the ball over the top from Tunisia goes out for a Japan goal kick. They lead by a 0-0 here on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds. So yeah, Netherlands and Japan both on 4 points. Sweden now on 3 in 3rd spot, but 8 places for the best placed 3rd place finishers, of course, in the round of 32 at this World Cup. And Tunisia on no points at the bottom of the table, having lost their first game and trailing in this one at the moment by 0-0.
Another shot of rain out there. He's probably thinking to himself, what have I done?
It's just so difficult. It's so difficult as well, isn't it? Because there's no ownership, in a sense, for him at all in this Tunisia squad. It's not even able to pick the players that he would necessarily want to for a World Cup. So it's such a bizarre scenario to come in as a coach during a World Cup, and the 26 players that you know you have to work with, those selections, those difficult selections, the surprising selections, some of them made by Sabri Lamouchi, have already been made, and he's very limited in what he can do. Yeah,
but he knows what he's coming into. You know, he knows that he doesn't have the opportunity to make them changes to the squad. He's got to work with what he's got. You can see what he's screaming there. He's telling the back line to get up, because the back line not getting up, there's so many gaps in them 10 positions, and you know, it is literally every time the ball turns over, any kind of transitional part of the game, it's wide open.
Hannibal Mejri working really hard to try and protect the ball away from 2 Japan players. He's surrounded by blue shirts, does very well actually, in fact, and does win the free kick for Tunisia deep in their own half. But yeah, Sabri Lamouchi, when he was sacked on Tuesday, first manager in World Cup history to be sacked after 1 game at a World Cup at this tournament. So 57-year-old Hervé Renard took over on Tuesday. That was the first time he had a chance to speak to his players, to work with his players, and his message was about restoring a sense of pride in playing for the Tunisia shirt. And well, it was always going to be tough for them anyway after that opening defeat, but the important thing for them right now is to try and take positives from what the opening 22 minutes of this game. There's been very few, there's very little for them to build on at the moment.
Yeah, very few. I just think when you're in a situation like that, when you concede a lot of goals in that first game, a change of manager, you kind of need to cut your losses a little bit and, you know, keep a good shape, you know, get plenty of men behind the ball and say, right, we're going to be difficult to break down here. And that's exactly what they haven't done. You know, they've overcommitted to the press at times. They haven't been able to keep the ball well, and they've been way too expansive in possession. And when you are expansive in possession and you don't keep it, when it does turn over, one forward pass can take 4, 5, 6 players out of the game, and that's what we're seeing in this game so far.
Japan almost playing in front of Tunisia at the moment, who are all back in their own half, trying to make it very congested. White shirts to close down the space for Japan and force the ball out of play for a throw-in on the far side. Japan right, and that boo you hear indicates it's hydration break time.
But, you know, if you just look at that little passage just then, and that's probably more what I'm talking about watching, is you need to do. They had everybody behind the ball. Midfield looked like it was pretty secure. The back line ready to squeeze up, so there wasn't too many spaces in between, and they need to do more of that to try and give themselves a little bit of a foothold in the game. I know they're a goal down, but they still need to stay in the game for the time being, and if they can grow into it a little bit more and, you know, gain a little bit of confidence as the game progresses, you know, if they continue to play the way they have done for the first 23, 24 minutes, then they're going to concede the second one. If they concede the second one, they're out of the game, because I don't see them scoring 2.
Daichi Kamada has just put an ice bag on the back of his neck, and, you know, there's been lots of debate at this World Cup with Japan leading this match by a 0-0 with this hydration break midway through the first half at the Monterrey Stadium. That hydration breaks have been ad breaks, but actually in Guadalupe in Mexico, temperatures actually during the day in June can reach 34 degrees C. That's why the matches are being played at night. It's a 10 o'clock local time evening kickoff. So it is a hydration break that is actually needed. But you're hoping with Gianni Infantino watching on in the stands that this isn't going to be something that he's going to be introducing worldwide to football from next season. Hydration breaks have not been popular, and it breaks the rhythm down of teams as well. We've seen that happen when they restart.
No, I mean, absolutely. If you were Japan, you wouldn't have wanted to stop, that's for sure. I've got no problem with hydration breaks if the temperature is at a certain level, you know, because, you know, you want the players to be able to look at. It's one of them that some people would say, well, look, we've been playing football for so long and we haven't had them, but I do understand the safety and wanting to get the players hydrated so then they can maintain the level of performance, and I suppose the level, the physical attributes can remain, and the hydration will help with that. But if the temperature is not to a certain kind of level, there's no need for a hydration break, then why have it and why disrupt the game? Well, I think we know.
Disappointed to see, though, that the Japan head coach Hajime Moriyasu hasn't brought out his infamous whiteboard during that hydration break for his little tactics chat. Did you see in the closing stages of their match against the Netherlands, he was getting the whiteboard out the sidelines, counting down the minutes of stoppage time, changing it around to tell them how long they had. 3 minutes left, 2 minutes left, 1 minute left. Old school but effective, but it's become kind of his calling card at this World Cup. We quite like it.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, why not? Something a little bit different. But that's what's happening in these hydration breaks. They're turning into, obviously, ad breaks for the TV and for everybody, but what they are is the tactical breaks for the coaches, and there's an opportunity to restructure, and Renard will have been really pleased to kind of get his players in, and I'm sure he's saying to them, right, keep that shape, get everybody behind the ball. When we turn her over, we can try and hit on the counter, but let's not concede again, and stop the gaps.
We started then this match, Tunisia 0, Japan 1. Daichi Kamada with the early goal for Japan 4 minutes into this match, and the throw-in's been taken on the far side, and Japan continuing where they left off at the moment, pressing forward and keeping Tunisia pinned in their own half. So this match in Group F, Japan on top, and as we've mentioned several times earlier on in Group F, finished Netherlands 5, Sweden 1. Group E matches as well in the last couple of hours. Ecuador 0, Curacao 0. What a point that is for Curacao. Germany 2, Ivory Coast 1. last gas win for Germany in that match, coming from behind to beat Ivory Coast. So that puts them in top in that group as well. All the highlights on the BBC Sport website and app if you want to watch them. Also extensive pieces analysing everything as well on the BBC Sport website. And there's a good new feature as well on the website, this live World Cup knockout bracket, which updates the last 32 lineup after each match, who will play who they might play if they were to win, progress through the last 16, last 8, semi-finals and final and so on. The best thing being about that is that whoever put that together very cleverly means that you don't have to work out who the top 8 best placed, third place teams are, and we can leave it to the clever bods who have put that together and just have a look at it, and all that hard work is done for you. So that updates after every match. And at the moment, I imagine Sweden will certainly be hoping they will be in one of those 8 third place finishing spots at the moment to progress to the last 32. Hannibal Mejbri, he's going to need to see a lot more of the ball to try and get Tunisia back level in this match, and they are just trying to slow things down a little bit.
Yeah, but they're having a nice little passage of play here, which they needed. It's probably the most passes that they've strung together since the game started. And what I would say about Hannibal, he has looked the one player who can get on the ball and maybe feel comfortable and create something for Tunisia. The rest of them have struggled to maintain any type of possession, and you know, there's not much danger coming from them. But when Hannibal gets on the ball, there is a slight feeling that something could happen.
Jan Valeri taking the throw in for Tunisia on this near side, the right for them, as they attack the goal towards our right-hand side in this first half. But they're forced all the way back to their defence. And what we know about this Japan side is they're comfortable in possession and they're comfortable out of possession. They'll be very happy to allow Tunisia to see lots of the ball in their own half. And they are not troubled by not seeing a lot of possession. They played that way against the Netherlands. It's a very different dynamic for them so far in this match at the Monterrey Stadium, but they are very comfortable, and they're on the ball again. Ueda going forward, down the right-hand side into the area, shot from distance, fires it past the goalkeeper, and just like that, they have a second in this match. Simple finish, right-footed finish for Ayase Ueda, and Japan have a second in this match. And they have a grip on this game now. They lead Tunisia by 2-0.
It's a brilliant strike, you have to say. Brilliant strike, really good. Slight angle just outside the box, gets fantastic power on it. Keeper looks like he dives a little bit too late, can't get close to it. But again, it comes from... We've just been talking there about Japan and being comfortable out of possession. And the reason why they're comfortable out of possession, particularly in this game, is they know when they do turn it over, one forward pass, and they can get in and get close to the Tunisian goal. And that's exactly what's happened. It's a poor ball forward. And you just see the shape of Tunisia is all over the place. There's nobody in midfield at all. Ball gets played forward. And it's a brilliant strike, I have to say. It really is. The technique, strikes, cross, just goes in or just on the inside of the post. Keeper can't get near it. But you're going back to that Tunisia shape. They're so open on transition, and I know people are listening to this and probably going, shut up talking about being open on transition, but I can't stress enough how all over the place they are when they turn over the ball. There's no structure to the play, and the transitional part of the game is so important. It really is, and there's just no structure to it at all from Tunisia.
And is that down simply to the fact as well that Hervé Renard is asking them to play a back five, which wasn't something they were playing necessarily under Sabri Lamouchi, and that isn't something that you can come to grips with necessarily in the 5 days that they've had working together?
I'm not really sure that it's the back five that are the problem, to be honest with you. I think it's the players that are above the ball, that when that ball does go forward, there's no organisation in there, there's no connection in the middle part of the pitch, because everybody is so spread out, there's bodies everywhere. You try to play forward, you give away the ball, and then the middle of the pitch is so open. You know, the transition part of the game, I think it comes from the bit before it, where if you're closer and you can connect, when you do turn the ball over, you've got bodies in that central area, and they're so expansive, they're so open when they're in possession, that they're not good enough to keep it. The ball turns over, and invariably it's been a chance for Japan when that has happened.
Andy Reid with us here on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Tunisia 0, Japan 2 in the second of these second matches in Group F, and Japan turning the screw. They in the Netherlands sitting pretty at the top of this group for those 2 automatic places through to the last 32 at the moment. And at this point for Tunisia, it's about managing how many they're going to concede here, Andy. I mean, this could genuinely be a cricket score if it continues the way it is. Japan just full of confidence and so comfortable at the moment.
Yeah, you made a really good point just before that goal went in. They're really comfortable in possession and they're really comfortable out of possession, and they know what they're doing. They're structured, they're organised, comfortable in possession, technically good players, physically they're good players. And when they don't have the ball, they're happy to be in a shape and they're happy to be disciplined and happy to be organised and wait for that opportunity. Tunisia turn over the ball and get a chance, and it's been really impressive from them, I have to say. You know, as bad as Tunisia have been, Japan have been really good.
And Altanaka doing really well to win the ball back in Japan's final third. Tunisia making a rare foray forward, and he did really well to win the ball back. And then Hannibal Mejri trying to make something happen for Tunisia, gives away the free kick, which will be for Japan deep in their final third. But also the finish from Aissa Ueda, it goes through the legs of Montassar Talbi, the Tunisian defender. I mean, we talked about him ahead of kickoff. He is full of confidence, scored so many goals in the Dutch league this season. And he just took on that shot, a player who is so confident in his own abilities at the moment.
Yeah, short backlift. You know, he took the shot early, took his touch and took it early. You find that happens when defender goes to block it. He sticks out his leg, it goes through his leg, and then I don't know. Maybe the keeper was unsighted until late, but I felt he dived a little bit late. But don't take anything away from the strike. It was really good. Struck it very cleanly with a lot of power.
Well, you can watch it on BBC One, by the way. We are live here on BBC Radio 5 Live. This match is also live on BBC One. Do take a look at that goal from Aissa Ueda, and also the first goal in this match scored in the opening minutes, if you're just joining us, by Crystal Palace's Daichi Kamada. A second goal for him at this World Cup, as Japan very neatly shepherd the ball back to Zion Suzuki, who's had very little to do in that Japan goal in the first 35 minutes of this match at the Monterrey Stadium. Daichi Kamada with the opener for Japan in the 4th minute, and Aissa Ueda doubling their advantage in the 31st minute. And at this point, as Tunisia have a free kick just inside the Japan half, they have really got to try and channel what they tried to do against Sweden in their opening group game. They did get a goal back before half-time in that match and came out in the second half really positively as well, but they have to try something a little bit different, you'd think, because at the moment they're being completely overrun, and Japan just very, very confident and very happy to just watch them play the ball in these areas, which isn't a threat to them at all.
Yeah, they need to stick the chests out. You need to see a bit of leadership out on that pitch. You know, I'm not seeing who's organising, who's pulling people in, who's, you know, saying, right, get in there, let's keep it tight, let's get through to half-time, let's get in and see if we can reorganise. There's nobody really doing that. It's kind of just the same. And look, I understand it's difficult being in situations myself where, you know, you go a couple of goals down, you can't really get close to the ball, you're playing against a good team. It is difficult, but you know, you're at a World Cup, you represent your country, you need to fight, you need to organise and not chuck the towel in.
So Japan very comfortable at the moment, leading by 2-0, 7 minutes plus stoppage time to go to half-time at the Monterrey Stadium. Games continue to come thick and fast after full-time in this one. Next match from the 2026 World Cup, commentary at 5 o'clock from Group H, Spain against Saudi Arabia, here on BBC Radio 5 Live. You can watch that on BBC One as well, as again Japan get forward. Ueda wanted the pass to him from the right-hand side. It was a good run forward again from Junior Ito. He's looked bright down that right-hand side, but at that occasion couldn't find Ueda.
Yeah, I think Ito and Kamada have been excellent. The positional play, where they've drifted out wide when they've needed it, but also they've been in them number 10 positions, and they've come into the pockets and received on the half turn, looking to play forward. I think it's been really clever. I think it's been good. And the teammates have punched the ball through the lines to them to find them in them spaces.
Hervé Renard looking quite dejected on the sidelines, hands clasped behind his back. He loves a crisp white shirt, Hervé Renard, former manager of the France women's team as well. That was his last job in international management. Also an AFCON winner with Ivory Coast and Zambia as well, both those men's sides. But this is a very, very difficult task with so little time to work this Tunisia side. So Spain against Saudi Arabia at 5 here on BBC Radio 5 Live. Belgium, Iran follows at 8 o'clock, and then Uruguay against Cape Verde at 11 o'clock this evening UK time. That again is a match you can watch in full on BBC One. And in terms of the home nations, still so busy, 4 or more matches every day. England play next on Tuesday evening, 9 o'clock UK time. They're in Boston for that match against Ghana. Scotland's third and final group match, it's a big one, against Brazil in Miami. That is an 11 o'clock in the evening kick-off time on Wednesday UK time, to see if they can try and sneak out of their group, perhaps in one of those best third placed finishing spots. And it goes without saying that every day here on BBC Radio 5 Live and on the Football Daily podcast, we'll check in on both the Scotland and the England camp. Ball whipped in from the right-hand side into the Tunisia area by Japan. Kamada shepherds it back to his midfield. Very comfortable now with Tanaka, and then across to Sano. All of Japan's outfield players up. Here's Junior Ito on the left-hand side. Just shows a bit too much of that Tunisia and gives away the free kick. And that's probably the only blip, really, in the first 40 minutes of this match. It's been an excellent performance so far from Japan, leading by 2-0. Yeah,
it has. Really good performance, really enjoyable performance. The energy that they play with and the precision, how quickly and what they do really well is change the tempo. You know, we've just seen Tanaka there. He's really comfortable on the ball. He manipulates it, and he's keeping the ball. He's making angles to receive. But then when the tempo changes, when they're ready to play forward, they play forward with pace. They play forward and they run forward. They go and support the teammates, and they're a dangerous team.
And no Wataru Endo, of course, and no Karu Matoma. Always worth reminding our listeners that 2 of their biggest names are not with them in this 26-man squad. Wataru Endo not able to recover from a foot injury in time to take any part in this World Cup. We knew that Karu Matoma would miss this tournament with that hamstring injury he picked up back in April playing for Brighton. But the fact that they haven't got 2 of their biggest personalities, 2 of their biggest playmakers, and they're still so impressive, it just shows now the strength and depth that Japan have built into their squad, into their football over the last few years.
Yeah, they're a real threat, you know. They are. What I like about them is the organisation. You can look at this team and they're a well-coached team. You know, you can see the discipline, you can see the organisation. Everybody knows their role in possession and out of possession, and they'll give a lot of teams a game that they play against. There won't be many teams that steamroller them or run over the top of them, that's for sure.
Yeah, then, as we say, they're just very comfortable in sticking to what they want to do, and that just this belief that eventually, as Andy Reid's been saying, they know that the chances will come to them, and they have the quality to make those and to finish them, as Daichi Kamada and Ayase Ueda have done so well so far in this match. That is a loose pass, though, by Kamada, and Tunisia do clear it up, hoof it up towards the halfway line to try and pick out Saad. Very comfortably chested down by Kaishi Sano, and Japan will build again from the back. What on earth then does Hervé Renard try to say to his Tunisia players at half-time, Andy Reid?
I don't know, he might be on the phone to Lamouchi seeing if he wants his old job back.
Yeah, it's very difficult for him. In terms of Japan, it'll be more the same, I'm sure, from Hajime Moriyasu for his side. Been in charge since 2018, and you can really see it's a machine together. It's a relationship that's built so nicely between squad and between manager. As they do win the free kick midway through Tunisia's half, just on the left-hand side, Dylan Bront conceding that. And this will be a decent opportunity for Japan, and, well, great time to score a third, Andy, with 2 minutes plus stoppage time to go to half-time.
Yeah, it would just completely put the game to bed. I mean, I don't remember Tunisia having a shot, so for me, if the game continues the way it is, then it's, you know, there's absolutely no chance of Tunisia getting back into it. But if they get a third, if Japan get a third, then it definitely is game over.
Ito and Doan standing over this. One of them's going to take it. He's going to be Ito, and Japan heads do try to connect it as it's floated into the area, but Darman actually was out, dealt with that pretty well and punched that away. Better from the Tunisia keeper, back in the starting 11 for Tunisia. Definitely some surprise that he was left out of the first match by Sabri Lamouchi, the then Tunisia manager, because he has so much more experience than Muhab Shamak, who only won his 4th cap starting in goal against Sweden, and definitely felt the nerves. But it's been a busy old first 44 minutes or so for Tunisia's goalkeeper, and a first half he'll likely want to forget, but still some defending perhaps to do here. Daichi Kamada again on the ball on the left-hand side for Japan. Now Nakamura, and Tunisia do well to clear it away from their half back out towards trying to put together some kind of attack for them in the last minute of the 45 in this first half. And the ball's cleared out of play for thrown on this near side touchline. Yeah,
I just thinking about probably the question you asked me a couple of minutes ago. What is Renard going to say to them at half-time? What can he do? I think a couple of things. First and foremost, you're saying to your players, make sure you don't give up, you represent your country, you keep fighting right till the end. But if you're looking at a tactical point of view, I would be tempted to go to a back 4, and I know that might sound a little bit strange. And why would I do that? Because the back 3 at the moment, there's 3 defenders marking away there, who's up there. So what that means then is that there's an overload in midfield. I'll be tempted to push another player into midfield and go with a back 4 and only 2 centre-backs, and say to the 2 centre-backs, look after away there, get an extra body into midfield, because at the moment it's way too easy for Japan to keep possession and to find them pockets, to find that space. And while you've got a 3v1 at the back with them guys marking away there.
Tunisia 0, Japan 2. We are into the first of 4 additional minutes at the end of this first half. So just the 1 additional, as well as a 3 for the hydration break, added on by our referee Istvan Kovac. And the other point, I guess, for Hervé Renard is he needs to see more from a lot of his forward players. We're just seeing there Ilyas Saad, who hasn't really been able to offer very much. A name we haven't mentioned at all, Sebastian Tunekti, Celtic's player, has barely been in this first 45 minutes, and he needs more from his forwards. They can't always rely on Hannibal Mejbri to be the one route that everything goes through for them going forward.
Yeah, I take your point, but what I would say is that they haven't had any sustained possession to be able to bring them forward players into it. So midfield, they haven't been able to grab hold of the game at all to bring them in.
Throw in from Tunisia into the Japan area, and Suzuki had gone out of possession, came together with Hannibal Mejbri, who's gone down clutching his neck. The referee has blown his whistle. Just seemed a slightly unnecessary exchange for Suzuki to get involved in there, way out from his area, from his goal line, trying to punch that away. And again, the decision going the goalkeeper's way, but Mejbri didn't do an awful lot wrong there. He was challenging for the ball.
No, it's another one of them where a keeper gets away with one. It drives me mad how protected the goalkeepers are. You know, the slightest bit of contact on them and referees blow the whistle.
Well, Zan Suzuki very, very happy to hear the referee blow his whistle, because he had got himself in a little bit of bother there, out from his goal line, trying to punch away that throw-in for Tunisia. Maybe that is something that they will look to perhaps try to test him with those high balls then in the second half, because he's had nothing to do aside from that in this first half. as we enter the third of the 4 additional minutes at the end of this first half. Japan leading by 2-0, and well, this ideal scenario for them, really. He's made the 4 changes for this match, their head coach, and he will, if they get a third, be able to make the full use of his squad in the hot conditions as well. We're talking about how important it is to make the full use of a squad at this World Cup with a round of 32 as well. It's an ideal scenario, really, if he's able to make the changes in the second half.
Yeah, he probably won't be thinking about that at this point in time. You know, the game's only 2-0. If it comes back out in the second half and there's a swing and Tunisia get 1 goal, then it's game on again. So I wouldn't imagine that he'd be thinking about that.
Well, let's see if Tunisia can do something at the end of this first half. They've got a free kick just inside Japan's half, just on the right-hand side. Norwich's and Ben Slimani standing over this, raises his right arm and swings that into the area. And he's headed towards goal, where Zion Suzuki gathers that one very easily because there was no real pace on that, and very, very comfortable for the Japan keeper to gather that one, and they will recycle and build again from the back, Japan. So leading Tunisia by 2-0, moving on to 4 points in Group F alongside the Netherlands, who earlier beat Sweden 5-1. And it is the half-time whistle, and Hervé Renard picks up his jacket and trudges off.
Jens, just to be clear, because we were having this argument earlier, we looked at the team, we've watched Germany now, we actually, you know, listened to what you said pre-match as well. We also think the same thing, that quarterfinal, semifinal would be a success. That's from an analyst perspective, from a, you know, ex-footballer perspective, but Germany, like the public, the media, the German people, no chance, right, that they go to the World Cup and say, oh, a quarterfinal is successful, right? That's the realistic view from, you know, maybe from analysts, but the German public expect to go and win it, right?
The German public, since the World Cup 2006, always likes to be in the semi-final, because that means that we have entertainment and public viewings and barbecue parties right to the end of the tournament. And we don't expect us becoming world champion, yeah, because most of the public is kind of realistic. And what you saw tonight is that we're kind of away from becoming world champions, because there are some problems that we're facing. And normally against Ivory Coast, you shouldn't play a game like we've seen, because Ivory Coast could have won as well, because they had a great chance at the end of the game, where I don't know who it was, but where he took 2 touches instead of converting it on the first touch. And so we were a bit lucky.
Jens, so then how is it possible? Because the American public also thinks a semifinal would be a realistic possibility for the U.S., and the U.S. has never won a World Cup.
Well, you know, optimism is always something which has to be there in such a tournament, because people want to be optimistic. And in Germany particularly, we need optimism, because right now we're doing not well as a country. And I remember 20 years ago, it was like a kickoff, yeah, to have success, economical success, political success. The world perceived us as being a different country. And so we expect a little bit from that current team, to give us that boost we had 20 years ago as well.
Jens, I've got to apologise for my American friend. He doesn't have many German friends to understand German people and
he
culture.
always likes to be right as well.
And he's going to try and put words in your mouth. That's what he does best. But carry on, Kai.
Yeah. Well, compared to America, we're a small country, you know. We don't have that many opportunities.
But you do have the history in football, so that's where that was leading to. But I'm going to ask questions about the striker position again. Undaf is asking that question now himself.
McDelivery, you in?
I'm in. Yeah, I well fancy a fillet of fish. Expand your palate.
Bring it home with McDelivery.
Adelante.
¿Qué pasa? Oh, wow. ¿Qué está sucediendo?
Is he the guy? Is he the striker that Germany's been looking for?
But at least he was for tonight. But if you know it, if you play quality teams, and all of a sudden you're ending up with a player, or you have to rely on a player like Undav, who's not used to play quality teams, because he only had 6 Champions League appearances where they haven't done really well. And that's always something where you can probably be less optimistic, because when you play France, Spain, or whatsoever, you cannot realistically expect Undav performing on that level like he did tonight.
Yeah, because I'm sure we're looking at him not the typical number 9, very tall physique, like you talk about Harry Kane earlier, being that guy in the box that gets the ball and is going to dominate some center backs in those places. But to me, I see him, I don't want to compare him to Michael Owen, you know, but being at the physique that he is, he's given that question now to the German crowd and all you guys and the ex-players and the coaches to say, we can look at this as a different type of number 9 that we can create without having to be the same one like the Kloses that you guys have seen before.
If you compare these two players, then with Undav, it's a different story, because he's not super quick. Michael Owen was super quick, and he could create chances himself. Undav can't. He's completely reliable on his teammates and good passes, good deliveries. And then he's good, because he can convert first touch, he can convert with 2 touches like he's done tonight. But tonight you have to praise him, because he helped Germany out of a very difficult situation, and he converted 2 good passes, 1 cross, 1 good pass, into 2 goals. So he deserves to be a hero tonight. But against like France or Argentina or Spain, it's a different story.
Jens, I must say you're an absolute breath of fresh air. And next time I'm in Munich, we're going to have some bratwurst and some Schenken together. Next time I come to Munich.
And some beer.
Yes, and some beer, exactly.
Yes.
I think you're going to make my friend Grella have some beer tonight as well.
Oh, yes, thank you so much for joining us.
Enjoy your time, Jake.
Curacao, who entered this World Cup for the first time, a tiny island nation with a population of around 150,000, managed to get their first ever World Cup point, a 0-0 draw against Ecuador. It was an extraordinary match, guys, in which the goalkeeper for Curacao, Eloy Room, made 15 saves to preserve this result. From your vantage point and watching what he has done here, the second most saves in a World Cup match ever, behind, of course, Tim Howard's 16 against Belgium. He actually has previously saved 15 shots before in a match for Curacao at the Gold Cup in 2019 against Honduras as well, in a clean sheet. What did you guys make of this absolutely crazy game in which Curacao get their first ever World Cup point?
Yeah, look, this has been a tournament of goalkeepers, in my opinion. We saw Patrick Beats do it for Australia's and the Aussies in that improbable win over Turkey, and then we saw Vozinha, at 40 years old, stand on his head against Spain to make history for Cabo Verde. Now we're seeing Eloy Room do it in his own fashion. Incredible to see, just in the first half alone. I counted, it was 6 saves he had in the first half alone, which is the most of any player at this World Cup, any goalkeeper in one half at the FIFA World Cup. But it wasn't just him doing on his own. I think he had a lot of help from his back line. This was a well-drilled and well-oiled Curacao machine, and we talked about this, Cello, that when you defend from the back, or when you're one of the minnows, you have to get that confidence going, and it comes from good goalkeeping and then being solid defensively. Then you can start to get the confidence in the midfield and the attack.
Yeah, I like the fact that he's 15 saves, most in a World Cup game that didn't go into extra time. I like that stat. Very well done. You know, we talked about it at the beginning.
Well, they say once you've conquered it all, there is nothing left. But it's not true.
It's all about the mindset.
My touch is still magical.
My grip on the game has never been better.
Finish your chances, right? Because you're not going to get a lot of them. Valencia had an opportunity to put that game away in the first 3 minutes. He didn't put it in the back of the net. There's a reason why defenders don't get paid much, because in order to win a game, you got to score goals. And the hardest position is always to find a guy that can put the ball in the back of the net. I'm not sure Valencia is the guy anymore. Just watching today's game, watching the way he played, his movement, he's in by himself. He couldn't put it past the keeper, and all respect to the Broom, because he had a fantastic day. But this is a team that doesn't score a lot, Ecuador. They defend very well. They move the ball well, but they have a hard time with the last pass. They have a hard time finishing. So when you go to Curacao, you say, you know what? Yeah. Well done. Well done. You defended, you were disciplined, you chased, you ran. There were guys at the end cramping. There were guys you could just see them physically dead, but they did the job. They got their point.
Yeah, there was a small period we see here on the momentum chart around the 30th minute when Curacao came very close to getting the goal in this game as well. Enner Valencia, as you said, Marcelo had such a big chance in the first 2 minutes to get that opener. He didn't take it. There were all sorts of chances, all sorts of saves, all sorts of moments. But in the end, for Curacao, a nation like this, to get this result, I mean, there was, all this talk after they shipped 7 to Germany about, should they even be here, the expanded format, all that stuff. And here they are delivering against a South American nation their first ever point. What would this mean to them to have achieved this after taking that hiding against Germany in the first game?
Yeah, I come from a small country in Sierra Leone, and I really see myself in this Curacao team. I see some of my former teammates. We have one in the building, in Kai Kamara, in this Curacao team, and you can only go as far as quality coaching. And that's why I'm a big advocate for getting the right coaches on the international stage. And Curacao, they have an experienced coach in Dick Advocat. I know that they would not have gotten this result without his experience, without his poise, without his calm demeanor. And it just caught my eye that before a ball was kicked, in the presser, they asked him, what's your approach? What's going to be your mentality in this match against Ecuador? And he said, we're going to make them work for every single ounce of quality that they do have in this team. But we're going to push them. And it really showed that they didn't back down from Ecuador, and we were looking in the first 20, 25 minutes when we were watching the game, and we were saying, wait, they're pressing Ecuador. Yeah. They're making life a bit unbearable, and if it wasn't for Eli Room snuffing out the likes of Enner Valencia, you could say that in the first 15 minutes, it was Curacao being on the front foot a bit and making it a bit uncomfortable and making the likes of Pierre Nkapie, the likes of William Pacho look ordinary at different times, but full marks to Advocat and full marks to the team, because they defended well, they showed a resilience that I don't think any person, unless you're a betting man or betting woman in Vegas, who if you put plus 800 on it, you're making a lot of money tonight.
Yeah, on a 0-0 draw, absolutely incredible.
We're going to betting. I don't know if
we lose you there. By the way, when you described yourself as a big advocate for coaching, you were this close to getting the pun right of an advocate for Advocat. it was right there for you. But Cello, for a nation like this to get a point at the World Cup, we saw the fans that were crying during the national anthem before a game they lost 7-1. Now they have something tangible that they lead this World Cup with. And I think anyone who watched that game tonight will see a country that gave an incredible account of themselves in going in both directions. Because as you say, they had moments going forward as well. They pressed them, but then they did the thing that every minnow has to do in a game like this, which is defend for their lives and have a goalkeeper turn in a great performance. And they got everything right, which we saw from Cabo Verde in their match against Spain.
You know, when we talked about the extended format, everybody was a little concerned. I was concerned. I think we all were at first to see. Completely wrong. Completely wrong, because you know what? You are going to have blowouts. Big deal. You had them when Germany beat Brazil, right? And no one said anything about that. There hasn't been but one, really. And when you look at this format and you look at the heart and soul, you look at Curaçao's fans in tears celebrating, that's what the World Cup's about. That's what it's about. They're celebrating their country. They did something that no one thought they were doing. If you're betting plus 90, I don't know what you do. What a plus 100, I don't know what you would put down, but it just, it makes the heart happy to see a team like this give everything they had and get a result. They got a result. They're celebrating. And when we talk about cultures coming together, we talk about everything you want in a World Cup. That was it. Between Cabo Verde and this, that's what we want. We want to see those kind of teams succeed, play well, and when they walk off the field, there's a brotherhood. They're much tighter now than they'll ever be for this next game.
And now, looking ahead here in this group, with Germany having beaten Ivory Coast as well, we'll get to that game a bit later on. Ecuador now on just the 1 point, and they're going to need to beat Germany in the final game of the group if they are to advance. Given the profligacy in front of goal, it is going to be a mountain to climb for them to beat Germany. You will say, though, they are now confirmed Germany as group winners. They have the head-to-head tiebreaker over Ivory Coast. So they can maybe make a lot of changes to their starting 11, so Ecuador could face a weakened Germany. But would you give Ecuador any chance of getting through with only the 1 point they had before they played Germany?
I'm very worried for this Ecuadorian national team right now because I think they're staring elimination right in the eye. They're staring it right in the face because there's an inherent lack of quality in the final third. You mentioned Enner Valencia. I'm actually going to point and put the microscope on a player that I was really disappointed in today and also in the previous match against Cote d'Ivoire. Where's Moises Caicedo? Moises Caicedo, a player that we proclaim as one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. He got bossed in the second half against Cote d'Ivoire. And apart from one of the passes, I think he played the pass over the top or through the lines to Enner Valencia, I didn't see enough personality from him. This is a big moment for the Ecuadorian national team. It's a massive moment for Moises Caicedo. I know he signed the big deal, signed the contract extension for Chelsea. That's the player that they need to step up. I know that the quality in the final third is a big question, Cello, but I look at him in particular, and he is symptomatic of the lack of personality and leadership that's in this Ecuadorian side right now.
I thought he did well against Ivory Coast, right, in the first game, because there was room. Curaçao dropped back in a low block. Where was he going to play? You know, there wasn't room for him to do what he likes to do. I was more disappointed in Plata. He didn't really do much. I mean, for me, when you start talking about, we can go down the list of players, and it was okay. Their balls go in the box. They're jumping for him. Great. But at what point, I never felt like they were dangerous. Caicedo should have gotten the ball and run at players. But this is a team that doesn't give up many goals. We've seen that. The only time they've scored 3 goals was against Guatemala in a friendly before the World Cup. Was that a real test for them playing?
No.
Not really. So when I look at this, they tied Morocco, they tied here, they tied there. This is a team I told you at the beginning. When you get one chance, they have to bury it because they're not a team that can get in there and create a lot of chances and finish a lot of chances. So I look at this team and I think there's one big problem. They defend well, but you need someone that can feed the ball, and Valencia needs to finish, or at this point, you got to try somebody else.
And, Cello, obviously, as a former defender, you would say that defense wins championships. But for Ecuador, their problem has been scoring goals. If you look at their last 15 games, they've drawn 10 of them. 5 of them have ended 0-0, and 5 of them have ended 1-1. So they're not even score draws. And so it's one of those things where we looked at their defensive record before the tournament because defense wins championships. But I think in some ways you overlook the fact that this is a team that does not, that is anemic in front of goal, and it might end up costing them a spot in the knockout round, which is shocking.
Listen, defenses win you games and win you tournaments. So when I see what Curaçao did tonight and Cabo Verde does, I do. You know what? I salute. I salute that.
As a member of the Defenders Union?
No, I'm serious because you know how hard we've played teams.
Back 3 ahead of them, Nakamura, Kamada, score of their first goal, Tanaka and Doan with Sano Ayase, score of their second goal, and Ito up front. And Japan will be attacking the goal towards our right in the second half as we watch here in their dark blue shirts and dark socks and shorts. And Tunisia, well, at this point, it's all about managing and the small wins, I suppose, Andy Reid. Try and not concede earlier on in the second half. See if you can get through it with maybe winning the next 10 minutes, not conceding, getting a draw in the second half.
Yeah, absolutely. Just keep it tight, like you say. Don't concede. See if you can grow into the second half. Maybe put a bit more pressure on. If you get one goal, the complexion of the game completely changes, and you know the mentality of the Japanese then they will maybe drop off a little bit. I'm just waiting to see with the changes, just waiting for the shape to settle down to see if there's been a change to formation. Because like we said, that number 6 space for Tunisia, number 10 space for Japan was the one that caused Tunisia so many problems in the first half.
Takahiro Tomiyasu passing across the Japan defence to Itakura, the skipper, in the centre circle. And as they spent much of the first half, Japan up in Tunisia's half, very comfortable on the ball, watched by their manager on the sidelines, and comfortably in control of this match at the moment, with Tunisia all back defending edge of their area. There's the shot from Al Tanaka, just wide of the left post. And the Leeds man trying to start the second half for Japan as they started the first.
Yeah, good strike, really good strike. See, he tries to strike across it, just maybe pulls it a little bit, but he gets good contact on it, has the keeper scrambling. just drifts to the left-hand side of the post, but no change to either team's shape. No surprise from a Japan point of view. Tunisia have decided to go with the same shape again in the second half.
Let's see if the introduction of their two substitutes will just spark anything for them going forward. Ismail Garbi having an eventful couple of games ahead of this World Cup, actually sent off in a pre-tournament friendly against Belgium, so we'll be hoping to make the right sort of impression, having come on in this second half in this match. Japan leading by 2-0, and lots of space through the midfield and almost cutting through the Tunisia defence again. Ayase Ueda almost running onto that ball, and Japan giving away a free kick inside Tunisia's half. Ito with that, but the spaces when they find them and the quick passing, they just open up Tunisia's defence so easily, Andy Reid.
Yeah, it's that space. I mean, Renard is going to have to do something about this, or there'll be another goal coming, you know, pretty soon. You've got to look after that space, and there's two ways you can do it. You can either put a number 6 in there to really look after the space, or you can say to one of your centre-backs, be really aggressive and step in, and they haven't done either.
Ben Slimani just trying to pick out Tunisia white shirts edge of the Japan 6-yard area. They were making some progress down the right-hand side going forward, Tunisia there, but the final pass, the final ball wasn't of quality, and it was cleared out of play for a throw-in by Japan, which was taken quickly by Tunisia. But off the ball, as we say, Japan very organised, everyone very certain of their roles. And that's the contrast that we're seeing between these two sides. A side with a new head coach, and everyone's still finding their way, finding their feet in a sense, and a Japan side who have been together and building a relationship with their manager for the last 8 years, and everyone very sure of their roles and very certain of the part they play in this Japan team, and happy to see Tunisia pass the ball about their defence and force them back up towards the halfway line.
I do like to see well-coached teams, and you know what we're seeing here is kind of the complete opposite end of the scale. And look, I know that there's kind of mitigating circumstances for Renard. He's not long in the door, but you know, you look at the Japanese side, positionally they're excellent. They know exactly where they need to be. The communication's good. When they do win the ball back, they're close enough where they're able to connect, so they're able to then regain possession and keep it. They're also really good on transition, so when they do turn the ball over, if it's a forward pass on, they play that forward pass. Really well coached. They're actually a joy to watch, because I love their energy and their desire as well. They don't stop working for each other.
Ball over the top, targeting Ritsu Doan, cleared by Tunisia, but they get it back into their own half and back then into Japan's, who just pick up possession and very comfortably again will build from the centre circle. Tanaka out to that far side, the Japan left in this second half. A bit too much shown of the ball by Daichi Kamada, score of their first goal to Tunisia, but the ball's gone out of play on the far side for a throw-in. How much can we say, Andy Reid, that Japan are dark horses? Because we keep talking about them as potentially being a team that we could see do something special at this World Cup, and therefore we can't really give them that label, can we, in a sense?
Yeah, I think they'll do okay, and I think they will cause teams problems. I just wonder whether they will have the real quality and that kind of, you know, the superstar level quality. I think that they're a great team, how they play together and how they're organised, but they don't really have any kind of real superstars in there where when it gets to the final stages, who's the one that's going to, you know, get the goal to beat Brazil, say, for example, or get the goal to beat Argentina. That they maybe come up a little bit short on that. But, you know, if you look at a team and a team ethic and how they go about it for each other, it's a joy to watch. I do really like them. I've enjoyed the performance very much.
First team outside of the 3 co-hosts to qualify for this World Cup as well, qualified way back at the end of March 2025 with 3 games of their qualification campaign to spare, so getting the job done very efficiently and very, very comfortable still here There was an attempt from Tunisia to get forward, an attempted back heel from Slimani to Hannibal Mejbri, just finding blue shirts instead as Tanaka isn't able to pick out Doan, and Tunisia get it back and pass it back to their keeper, Darman. But the other remarkable thing about Japan, given then, therefore, Andy, that we are so impressed with the way they play, is they are still yet to win a knockout game at a World Cup. This is their 8th World Cup. They've reached the last 16, or the knockout stages. It will be last 32, of course, on this occasion, 4 times, but they've never gone beyond that. And that feels like the big mental hurdle for this Japan team.
Yeah, I would say that they're capable of doing that in this World Cup, most definitely. You know, I'm probably talking about, you know, going quarterfinals, semi-finals. I think maybe a bridge too far, but I definitely think they can win a game in the knockout stages. Absolutely. They're actually a likeable team. You know, there's some teams you look in, you know, you're not too fussed on them, but I actually look at these and I like the way they go about it, because the energy that they show, you know, they're easy on the eye. They're yeah, probably that's the best way to describe them for me. They're a likeable team.
Yeah, very neat and tidy on the ball. One of everybody's favourite teams, really, to follow. I think everybody's always fans of Japan, in a sense. Remember that from the 2023 Women's World Cup in New Zealand. Everyone was a Japan fan of that tournament as well. Wanted them to go far. This Japan side under Hijomi Moriyasu, reaching the knockout stages in 2022 in Qatar and just losing out in that game to Croatia on penalty. So they did get closer, and he was saying, you know, it's a penalty shootout, it's down to luck, really, in a sense, and his side could have won their first knockout game. So that's definitely the target for Japan. As it stands, they will be well on course to reach the knockout stages of this tournament, leading this game by 2-0 and on 4 points in Group F at the moment, alongside the Netherlands. They've just given away a free kick, though, just inside the centre circle. And, well, it needed something from Tunisia. I mean, there has been a slight improvement from them in the second half, Andy Reid.
They haven't conceded as many chances, is the improvement. You know, I was just looking at a forward pass there from Braun. No, it wasn't Braun, it was Valeri. And he's just playing it forward to nobody, and he's, come on, show a little bit of composure, get some passes in, you know, connect a little bit more. There hasn't been an improvement in possession or going forward, but maybe they haven't conceded. Well, they haven't conceded this many chances. I'm trying to look for some positives for them here, and there's not too many to pick.
Well, we've played 11 minutes of the second half, and they haven't conceded yet. Remember, they conceded 4 minutes into this match. That goal to Daichi Kamada very early on, so they have made a bit of an improvement, but it's difficult because the defence was really their foundations that they built their qualifying campaign on. Finished top of their World Cup qualifying group in Africa. They didn't lose a game in qualifying, 1-9, drew 1, didn't concede a single goal. First team in World Cup qualification history to do that, a record that was then matched by Ivory Coast and also England. But if the foundations of the defence then, well, fall away, as we've seen in this World Cup so far from Tunisia, it's very, very difficult for them to find any momentum really to build on. And I think we're seeing as well Hannibal Mejbri, Andy Reid, really trying to search almost for possession. He was up front a couple of minutes ago. He's gone back way now into sort of a holding midfield role. He's searching for the ball because he feels he's not getting any service as such at the moment.
Yeah, he's feeding off scraps. I mean, I can't believe that stat that you've just told me there. You know,
what about the defensive record in qualifying?
It's incredible. You know, if you're to watch the first game that they played, and then you watch this game now, the amount of chances they've conceded, how the lack of defensive structure that they have shown, and I suppose the lack of individual defending as well. It's incredible, really, that they went through that campaign. Really, is with them stats.
Well, it's remarkable to go from one extreme to the other, isn't it? They've now conceded 7 goals at this World Cup in a game and a half, Tunisia, and they've got some defending to do here. Going to be a corner from the right for Japan, taken short by Ito, and then it's cleared away by Valeri, edge of the 18-yard box, as it was tried to be delivered in by Doan. Goes out for a throw-in for Tunisia on this near side, the left for them in their own half, taken by Garbi. Just come on the pitch and hasn't really been able to get forward. But that consistency for Tunisia, a big part of it going from one extreme to the other, Andy, is Hervé Renard is their 7th manager in this World Cup cycle, and you've got that lack of consistency, as we're saying, that the contrasts between what they have done as they try to get forward here. Good defensive work as Tunisia tried to get the cross into the air. You can see the free kick, Ali Abdi conceding that in Japan's 18-yard box. But the contrast in terms of the consistency and the touchline from one side and the other couldn't be more extreme either, and that all feeds into the problems that Tunisia are having.
Yeah, continuity can be important. Understand that the coach that's in the position at that particular time needs to show that he can do the job, and you need to pick up results. And but it is a difficult one for them. I have to say it's a difficult one for them. You get rid of your manager after the first game. He's only been in for 5 games before the World Cup started. You've got somebody new coming in. You get taken apart in the first game of the World Cup, which will hit your confidence. And they look like a team that are low on confidence. And when you are low on confidence, I think the structure becomes really important, and that they don't have that.
Slimani on the ball in the centre circle for Tunisia. Hervé Renard in that white shirt. It's his USP, he's famous for that. Always wears the same outfit on the touchline, the black trousers, white trainers, trying to gesture and urge his team to get forward. And just realising, I think, really, that it's going to be a very difficult half an hour ahead for his side. 60 minutes played at the Monterrey Stadium. Japan still leading by 2-0. The energy and the impetus for them going forward isn't quite there in this second half, but they have been so comfortable that, well, they don't really need to go ahead with the same injection of pace. And actually, Ito's boots just come off in a challenge there with Ali Abdi, and he's just going to put that back on, and referee asking him to move to the sidelines to do that so they can keep the game moving.
Japan don't have to chase the game. I think you making that point is correct. You're 2-0 up. You're so comfortable in the game. Tunisia haven't had a shot on target, so Japan don't really need to go after this game. They're in a strong position. I think they can afford to keep it. Maybe we'll see the last 10-15 minutes they might want to go and get another goal or another couple of goals to help with a goal difference, but they're so comfortable in this game.
Tunisia 0, Japan 2 here on BBC Radio 5 Live. 61 minutes played in this second match for these two sides in Group F. Later here on 5 Live, we'll have a tennis commentary for you from 1:30 from the men's final at Queen's. Got commentary as well from the final round of the US Open Golf. That starts at 8 o'clock actually on Sports Extra, before we then join our commentary team here on 5 Live at 10. We also have TMS on air from just before 11 o'clock over on Sports Extra for the final day of the second test between England's men and New Zealand from the Oval. New Zealand looking very well placed to win that second test match and draw level in that series, and there'll obviously be lots of analysis as well, I'm sure, on the TMS pod after that match is concluded about if and when Ben Stokes will return to the England side. That third match for them in that series coming this week, so that decision needs to be made pretty quickly by the England selectors and the England management. So absolutely another packed day of sport for you here on 5 Live, as the games continue to come thick and fast as well from this 2026 World Cup, and Japan continue to look just incredibly comfortable on the ball.
Just seeing a replay there, nothing much happening in it, but was the ref view, the ref cam, and I think it's really good because I think it gives you a good insight into what the players are kind of seeing on that level as well. You know, you can see the angles a little bit, you can see how tight and congested it can be in certain areas, you can see the angle of what a shot might be, and also obviously see what the referee is seeing and what the tackles might be like. I think it's a really interesting view.
Some things have worked, haven't they? Some of the things that FIFA are trying out this World Cup, and some of them haven't. That one definitely has. Another corner for Japan from the right, swept in by Ito over to the far side, partially cleared by Tunisia. The ball will bobble out of play for a throw-in. I mean, things that we know that haven't worked, for instance, we've already talked about it, and we're on the cusp of another one shortly. The infamous hydration breaks, as Hervé Renard is getting ready to make a third substitution for Tunisia with 64 minutes played. I also quite like the snickometer. Did you see this in the first game between Sweden and Tunisia, when Alexander Isak got a very marginal touch on the ball in the build-up to their fourth goal, and just like they do at the cricket, actually, they just had the snickometer to show just the slightest of touches off his right boot. And well, Clinton Morrison was a fan of that as well, so that's worked as well.
Well, if Clinton was a fan of it, I'm not.
On principle.
No, I do love Clinton.
Tunisia still going forward at the moment, trying to anyway, down that right-hand side. Hannibal Mejbri cut back into the area. Ali Abdi was the only white shirt in there, and it's cleared out over the far side by Japan. I think this substitution is going to be made shortly by Hervé Renard. Yeah, that is coming now. So just confirming that. It is Faraz Shawat, plays for his club football in Tunisia. Coming on, he's going to be replacing Sebastian Tunekti of Celtic, who would bet, well, I don't think I've mentioned his name once, apart from in the first half when we mentioned how little we've been involved in play.
No, the only time you mentioned his name was saying that you haven't mentioned his name.
Yeah, which sums up really, I think, why he's been substituted off by
look,
Renard.
You can't put too much blame on him. It's not really his fault. His team have had so little possession, but probably even more important than the possession, the territory that they've had. Anytime they have had possession, it's when Japan have dropped off into that mid-block and they've almost said to them, right, we'll go and have a little bit of possession, look to come forward a little bit, and as soon as you do, we'll turn over the ball. He's had nothing to go off, and he looked dejected as he went off the pitch on the far side. And you can understand why.
Yeah, tough old 60 minutes or so for Sebastian Tunekti. So 3 substitutions made now by Hervé Renard in his first match in charge of Tunisia. Again, 5 days he's had with this Tunisia side after they sacked Sabri Lamouchi earlier this week. He's had very, very little time on the training pitch, and it's showing. All out of shape, very disorganised, and the contrast with what we're seeing from Japan as they continue their neat passing couldn't be more heightened, really, as they win back possession. Shawat, who's just come on the pitch, wanted a free kick, didn't get one, as they still continue to be put under pressure just outside their area, Tunisia. Tanaka's shot, though, from the edge of the area is blocked by Tunisian white shirts, and they will try to build again from their own half, and that one indeed is a free kick to Tunisia, trailing by 2-0.
Yeah, it's that number 10 space again that's causing all sorts of problems. Anytime Japanese player has the ball, he looks to try and play through the lines and find that space, and it's on every time. And what the Tunisians haven't done from their shape, the centre-backs haven't been aggressive enough to step into that space. There's been a 3v1 at the back, and there's no need for that. It can be a 2v1. You can still defend with a +1, but then really jump in. One of the centre-backs really jump into that number 10 space and be aggressive, and they haven't done it. And the Japanese keep finding players in that space time and time again.
Faraz Shawat, seeing him move forward and just try to put a little bit of pressure on Japan's defence. Top scorer in the last 2 seasons in the domestic Tunisian league, so I think there was maybe a little bit of surprise that he didn't start, certainly this match. He's a player we expected maybe to see a little bit more of but he has got half an hour here to try and make a bit of an impact for Tunisia as they try that long ball over the top again, because it's very congested in that midfield. Japan making it very difficult for Tunisia to see much of the ball, but it's shepherded back very comfortably by Ritsu Doan to Zion Suzuki, who, again, since that one moment for him, Andy Reid, where he made a little bit of a hash of coming out to try and gather a long throw-in from Tunisia, he's had barely anything else to do at all in this match.
No, he's had nothing to do. I mean, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to give a little bit of something there, but there's actually nothing in it. It was a nothing moment. They weren't even close to the goal. They were about 6 yards to the side, of the goal. I'm sorry for shooting you down there, and I know what you were trying to get at there, but...
Oh, this is nice here from Japan. And the third goal is in, and that's a great finish from Junior Ito, running onto the ball over the top. He had one defender with him, but it was a simple right-footed finish. And that is the third goal for Japan, and that is all 3 points in this match wrapped up, and they have a hold now on one of those top 2 positions in Group F, and they lead Tunisia by 3-0 at the Monterrey Stadium.
Well, it's a forward pass into that number 10 space. It's a lovely first-time ball around the corner, and Ito goes 1v1 with the keeper and slides it in. And it's a brilliantly well-worked goal, I have to say. It really is some excellent football, and it looks really simple. But, you know, you just see that pass into that number 10 position. The back line's all over the place. There's a dog leg going on there. One of the defenders is too deep, which plays it to onside, comfortably onside. And he takes it really well. It's a nice finish under the keeper. A really simple goal, but really well worked, and you have to say, no more than they deserve. I mean, it could be 5-6 really, this game, and so easy, so easy.
It's just that ball over the top, and Junior Ito makes no mistake finishing, slotting home. And Japan, Andy Reid was saying it in the last couple of minutes, they could already have had 3 or 4 in this match. That is the third, and there is definitely no way back for Tunisia now. 20 minutes plus stoppage time to play, and they will be moving on to 4 points, Japan, alongside the Netherlands at the top of Group F.
But that's a perfect example, that goal of the point that I've just been making a few minutes ago, where if one of those centre-backs anticipate and are more aggressive, then they get into that space and they stop that first-time ball being turned around the corner. But because they're so hesitant and they try to stay in the shape, it's kind of it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation for them, really. But they end up doing neither, so they end up not dropping off, but then they don't end up being aggressive to go in. And when you defend like that, gaps appear all over the place, and that's what we're finding is happening here. And from a Japanese point of view, really well worked goal, forward pass, breaking the lines, taking 3 or 4 players over. The weight of the turn around the corner was really good. The timing of the run was really good, and the finish was nice.
Good stat this, though. It's only the second time in 27 matches at a FIFA World Cup that Japan have scored 3 goals in a game. The previous occasion was in 2010 when they put 3 past Denmark, obviously that World Cup in South Africa. So for all the options that they've had in this match and all the opportunities they've had, scoring 3 goals for them in a game is a rarity at a World Cup, which is surprising in a sense, given how comfortable they have been in this game and how impressed we've been with what we've seen from them at this World Cup. But the other thing about Japan is the different players all contributing to the goals. You know, that they're not reliant on just the one. I think it was 54 goals in qualifying scored by 19 different players, and that is such a strength as well for them, that they have all the different options. They don't just rely on the one player.
Yeah, and all the goals have been well worked. They've they've been different types of goals, but they've all been well worked and really good team goals.
Hydration break at the moment, underway at the Monterrey Stadium. So saying it, the heat definitely is a factor at this venue. This is probably one of the hottest venues actually at this World Cup. There are plenty with air conditioning. You've been hearing that across the last week or so here on 5 Live. The temperatures in Guadalupe, Mexico, pretty high, and so this is actually a proper hydration break rather than just an advert break. But it doesn't really look like Hervé Renard is using the opportunity really to say very much to his Tunisia side. I think he kind of feels that there isn't really anything more he can say at this point.
Yeah, but look, he's got a responsibility as a head coach to try and help these players. Admittedly, they're not helping themselves. What I would say is that I don't think there's a lack of effort from Tunisia. I don't look at them and think that they're not trying, or they're not working hard, they're not trying to compete, but it's just so misguided. You know, I don't think the shape is right. I think he needs to make some sort of change and do something. It's too late now. They're not going to get back into the game. But still, I don't think he has particularly helped them in terms of the shape, and he hasn't made any adjustments. And the shape is not right. It's been too easy for Japan. The overloaded midfield has absolutely killed Tunisia.
They're making a sub here as well as we're waiting to get back underway. Japan leading by 3-0, making a couple of substitutions. So Yukinari Sugawara is coming on for Ritsu Doan, and Daichi Kamada of Crystal Palace, scorer of the first goal, has gone off as well. He has been replaced by Juniseko Suzuki. Plays his club football for Copenhagen. So at this point, Japan, I think, able to make those changes. So comfortable now in this match, out of sight in this game, leading by 3-0, and able to just rotate and bring on some of those squad players, and happy to see the white ball back out as well by Hajime Moriyasu in that.
You like that, don't you?
I love that. It's just old school, isn't it? Not like the iPad or the laptop from Maurizio Pochettino in USA hydration breaks, but just getting the old whiteboard out. Hopefully we might see him use it at the end of the game, perhaps to count down the stoppage time. He's becoming as famous for that as Marcelo Bielsa in his bucket, or his ice cooler box, isn't it, at this World Cup in charge of Uruguay. Corner for Tunisia, taken short from the right-hand side. Hannibal tries to work it in, and just inside the dead ball line, deflects off a Japan player, goes out for another corner for Tunisia. 16 minutes plus stoppage time to play. And to his credit, as Andy Reid's just saying there, Hannibal Mejbri really trying to stay proactive, keep working hard, try and make something happen from this second consecutive corner for his side from the right again. That was sent over to the far post. Comes back in, and the shot from the edge of the area from Ishmael Garbi, just come on the field, of course, in this second half, is blocked by Japan, who eventually, after a couple of attempts, get it clear up towards the halfway line and actually do win the free kick, and will take their time to take this just in their 18-yard box. So Japan on 4 points alongside the Netherlands at the top of Group F. Tunisia bottom of Group F on 0 points, and a reminder of what is at stake for Tunisia in this match. They are at the moment being eliminated from this World Cup with a game still to play, because they are losing by 3-0, and because the Netherlands beat Sweden by 5-1 earlier in Group F. So the results, which at the moment eliminate Tunisia, move Japan and Netherlands into a very healthy position with one group match still to play. Sweden not out of it at all, and will try to put something together positive in their third and final group match to see if they can sneak into one of those best third place finishing spots. 8 of them available for teams as they try to progress to the round of 32. Are there any positives, Andy Reid, that Hervé Renard can try and take for Tunisia into their third match? I mean, they will just be playing for pride in that match against Sweden, that in Dallas in 5 days' time. But is there any marked improvement at all that
probably just the fact that it's only 3 goals and not 6.
Not 5 as in the first match.
Sorry, 5, yeah, sorry. But we've still got a bit of time to go, so don't want to speak too soon. But what you just mentioned there, pride, and there's always pride when you play for your country, when you represent your country. So that's what they've got to play for. You know, you represent your family, you represent your country, you line up for that national anthem, and There's that feeling that you should have. So, like I mentioned earlier, I wouldn't say that there's a lack of effort from this team. I just think shape and quality-wise, they've been miles off it.
Another corner for Japan. 78 minutes played. Ito's going to take this again from the right-hand side for them as they attack the goal towards our right in the second half. Cleared by Tunisia. Picked up again by substitute who's just come on the pitch, Sugawara. And it's sent back to Japan's defence, who are way up in Tunisia's half. Ball connects with Garbi, who forces it out of play for throwing on this near side touchline, which Japan will take.
Is it a short-term contract that the manager has come in on? Do we know?
I believe it is just at the moment for these 2 group games at this World Cup, because it will now just be the one final game after today, with this result looking to be inevitable now for Tunisia. So I think it was just to come in and replace Sabri Amici until the end of this tournament. And then they really, as we say, probably need to try and think a bit longer term, the Tunisian Football Federation. Goal kick for Tunisia. A couple more substitutions made by Japan. So Tomiyasu and Kito Nakamura being replaced by Yuito Suzuki and Ayumi Seko as well. Plays his club football in France for Le Havre. So really able to empty his bench and bring on some of the squad players now in this final 11 minutes plus stoppage time of this match. Japan, they've won a free kick, I think, as well, just deep in their own half as well. Rakik and Slimani trying to be a bit too aggressive, I think, there, with Suzuki's just come on the field.
Yeah, he done well, Suzuki, there. I thought it was a free kick. I thought it was a little bit harsh not to give it. The Japan-Sweden game's going to be interesting now, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's a really interesting game. Obviously, Sweden be disappointed, but obviously got off to a great start. So that's that throws up an interesting game now because of the way the results have fallen in this group.
Yeah, so the last games in this group then, Japan will go to Dallas next. They will play Sweden in 5 days' time in that game. And Tunisia, who are heading out of the tournament as it stands, will head to Kansas City for their final group match. That will be against the Netherlands. For Sweden, I mean, I'm struggling to think of another time you win the first match of your Group 5-1 and then you lose the second one by the same scoreline. It's kind of a mad one extreme to the other for Graham Potter in that game.
Yeah, crazy, really, isn't it? They'd have been, you know, after getting the 5-1 win in the first game, they'll have been so high. And you can imagine what they're feeling coming off that pitch against the Netherlands. So it was such a disappointment for them. That's why, you know, it's a really difficult game to call, the Japan-Sweden game.
Graham Potter, obviously, again, a man who's not really been in charge long-term of that Sweden team, only coming in March, I think it was, taking charge of their last World Cup qualifiers, 2 matches. Obviously finishing bottom of qualifying in that group, but then making their way through the UEFA playoffs to stake a claim at this World Cup, a place at this World Cup. So it's kind of, again, I mean, his journey of the time he's been in charge, it's veered from one extreme to the other. It will be fascinating, as you say, Andy, to see what they do, because again, Sweden are a team who like to build on a strong defensive foundation, and clearly that completely fell apart for them against the Netherlands earlier.
It did. Football has a way of, you know, kind of knocking you down off your perch when you're up there, when you think you've cracked it.
It's a leveler.
No, it really is, though. You know, you speak about, you know, and that's why the top teams are the top teams, because they have that consistency and they never get too far ahead of themselves. They always know what the next job is, because it's one of them that if you think you've cracked it, football just has that way of dragging you down off your perch.
Remember the Football Daily podcast every day, every morning that drops, bringing you the latest on all the action overnight from the World Cup. Japan pressing forward again with Ito, searching for a fourth in this match. 83 minutes played. Sugawara tries the cut back just inside the byline, deflects off a Tunisia defender. Will go out for a goal kick for Tunisia, I think that will be, but already, as we've been saying, in the last few hours, Netherlands 5, Sweden 1 in this group. Elsewhere, Netherlands and Japan sharing those top 2 places at the moment, both on 4 points. Elsewhere, Germany coming from behind right at the end of their match in Group E to beat Ivory Coast by 2-1. Finished 0-0 between Ecuador and Curacao. So Germany and Ivory Coast definitely in the driving seat for the 2 top places in Group E. Later on today, 5 o'clock, back with action in Group H. Spain as the header from the left-hand side of the area goes in. It's a second of the match for Ayase Ueda. The first one was a right-footed finish. The second one's a header from the left of the area. The cross from the right, and he places that one perfectly. And Japan are finishing this match in Monterrey with a flourish, and they lead Tunisia by 4-0.
It's another brilliant team goal, really is. Ball gets played wide and there's an underlapping run, and as the ball is getting towards the byline, what you always say to a player, when you're getting towards that byline, stand it up at the back post. And Ueda knows that he needs to stand it up at the back post. He peels off towards it. It's a little bit high for him, and he has to maneuver his neck muscles to really get the power on that, and he loops it back. It's a fantastic header. Really, really good header. Has to try and loop it and get enough power on it. He does that, goes up over 2 defenders and drops in at that back post.
That's a brace for Ueda in this match. There are 2 Tunisia defenders back though on the goal line, Andy. I mean, could they have done better to try and clear it?
No, I don't think so, because they're coming back towards where the ball is, so the momentum is taking them towards, but the header is that good and it's that accurate. You know, I think the art of heading the football is going out of the game. I think we're seeing it less and less. But if you're a young player and you're interested in heading the ball, you're interested in wanting to learn how to head the ball, then to have a little look at that goal, I think would be important. Excellently taken.
And they're still not done here. Here they go again. Ito down the left-hand side this time. Managed to stick away from one Tunisia player, and then they clear it up towards midway through their half. Tunisia, as Japan tried to come again, goes up for a throw-in, and there will be a pause in play. The referee's just seen one of the Tunisia players go down in the area.
You asked me a few minutes ago what's the positives that we can take, and I said, well, probably the fact that it's not 5 and that it's only 3. Well, now it's 4.
Now it's 4, and they still have 5 minutes for stoppage time to go. Japan want to match what Sweden were able to do in their first match. That's the last bit of play for Ueda in this match. He's just been substituted, so that's the 5th and final substitution for Japan. Keisuke Goto has replaced him for his 4th cap, as looks like certainly one of Tunisia's best players. Omar Rakik, score of their only goal at this tournament, and that 5-1 defeat to Sweden opening up has gone down. And we will have a pause in play here. They're going to be bringing on another sub as well. Rani Khedira, younger brother of Germany World Cup winner Sami, coming on shortly. But well, it's been a masterclass really in showing all the different ways that they can score goals, Japan. We're talking about the versatility and the fact they don't rely on one player, and the different ways that they can play the game and adapt to the game. And they've shown that as well in the different ways that they've scored their 4 goals this evening.
Yeah, and I think it probably the type of goals that they've scored, the way they have been so team orientated, and probably other than Ueda's first one, that was a brilliant strike. They've all been really kind of team orientated goals, and that probably sums them up. I'll look at these and I think they're kind of some of their parts. They're an excellent team. How the cohesion is there, the understanding is there, the movement is there, and the connection is there. And then if you've got the technical ability then to be able to execute when you get into them areas, then you're onto a good thing. And I've really enjoyed this performance from them. I've really enjoyed it. There's been lots of different bits of quality in there in terms of in possession, out of possession, organisation, structure. Loads to take from this game and from them. Lots of positives.
Lots of smiles on the faces of the Japan subs bench, and lots of positive stats still coming as well. First time they scored 4 goals in a match at a World Cup. Aishi Ueda, the first player to score 2 goals in one match for Japan at a World Cup. So just the positives keep coming, and this is all it's all about building a head of steam and positive momentum in a World Cup, isn't it? That feels like one of the most important elements, really, of a tournament like this, Andy, and the fact that they are doing this and they keep finding all these positives for Japan in these 2 matches, it just all feeds into that positive direction for them.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think with, you know, such a good scoreline as well, you would imagine that, you know, even if it didn't go quite their way against Sweden, that they will fall into the category of one of them tour place finishes with the results that they've already got. So yeah, excellent night for them. Really good night for them, and you know, you've seen some of the fans in the stand, and they're delighted, they're happy, and you have to be happy for them as well, because they're such a respectful nation, aren't they? You know, everywhere they go, they treat people right and show people respect.
Players always cleaning up the dressing room after themselves. We always see the pictures from the stands of the fans doing the same thing after their games as well. There's a reason why Japan are a team that are embraced, really, at major tournaments such as this. Everybody always loves to see them play, and they are finishing this match with a smile on their face into the 89th minute of the Monterrey Stadium, leading Tunisia by 4 goals to 0. What is going to be enough for one of those third-place finishes, those 8 spots, Andy? Because it's interesting, isn't it? We're kind of, at one point, I think people were saying 3 points and a goal difference of -1, but then the head-to-head obviously comes in as a factor, ahead of goal difference at this tournament, and it's kind of a great unknown, isn't it? What is going to be enough for one of those third-place spots?
I don't know. We need to get that app up that you were talking about earlier on.
Yeah, this is the BBC Sport app. If you weren't listening to us in the first half here on BBC Radio 5 Live, it's a great feature on the BBC Sport website for this World Cup. It's got a live World Cup knockout bracket, which updates after every match. So it offers you what the matchups will be in the last 32, what they would then be in the last 16, last 8, and so on, who could be on course to face who and at what stage. And the best bit of that, as Andy Reid is saying, is that it works out for you. It's so clever who those 8 best place, third place finishing teams are, so we don't have to work out head-to-heads and goal difference and yellow cards and all of that will come into it in all likelihood, really, on match day 3, which will make it very interesting, very close.
That was a nice little lead-in for you there, wasn't it?
It's beautiful. It's almost like you've done this before. It's almost like you've done this before. Another substitution for Tunisia, a big shake of the head from their captain leaving the pitch. Ilyas Skiri being replaced by Rani Khedira. And Ali Abdi's been replaced as well. He's gone off for Ilyas Ashuri as well. For the final minutes for Tunisia in this match, we're into the first of 6 minutes of stoppage time at the end of this match, and in the next 5 minutes or so they will know that their World Cup is at an end, with only 2 games of this tournament played, and that is why there are lots and lots of dejected expressions on the face of the Tunisian fans in the stands. They are going out of this World Cup with 1 group game still to play, and that is always such a disappointment for any team at a World Cup, and particularly for Tunisia, who had aspirations of progressing beyond the group stage, Andy, for the first time. They'd never done that. Obviously at the World Cup in 2022 they failed to do that, but they memorably beat France at that World Cup in Qatar as well. It just feels like this World Cup, in comparison, the journey on it's been a bit of a whimper for them.
No, it has, and you know, we mentioned the defensive records in qualifying, and I know we kind of spoke about it earlier. I'm astounded that we're talking about the same team.
It's chalk and cheese.
You know, and look, you can concede goals in games. You know, everybody knows that, especially a World Cup where you're playing against good team. But for me, the lack of defensive structure and organisation throughout the team has been incredible.
Medjugorje with a free kick just inside the Japan half. He lofted that one into the area, and Suzuki comes out and grabs that firmly and says that's mine, and then feeds it forward for Japan to try and go up on the counter. A little bit of a loose pass though, and Tunisia win it back with their defence and back with their keeper. But yeah, it's going to be a pretty sorry 5 days or so for Tunisia as they make their way from the Monterrey Stadium, where they played their first 2 matches of this World Cup, and Guadalupe, Mexico, heading across now into the United States to Kansas City, where of course England are based. Thomas Tuchel and his squad. The latest on what's happening in their preparations for their second match at this World Cup. Of course, that is a Tuesday 9 o'clock UK evening time kickoff. Reminder, that match against Ghana. And all the build-up will continue to be here on BBC Radio 5 Live for that, and also for Scotland's third and final Greek game, which follows on Wednesday, that against Brazil. Here go Japan, still full of energy. The substitutes coming on, wanting to try and get a fifth in this match. Ball's gone out of play through a throw-in. The only previous meeting between these two sides at a World Cup coming, as we said, in the first half in 2002, Japan's home World Cup, that a 2-0 win, and this a 4-0 win. Definitely feels like they're making a little bit of a statement in Group F, responding very nicely to what the Netherlands were able to do earlier against Sweden, as we enter the last 2.5 minutes of this match. And yeah, as you say, Andy, that Netherlands match for Tunisia will be a very, very difficult one for them. You imagine it's going to be again about just trying to manage that attacking line for the Netherlands as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure what the worst team to ever play in a World Cup has been. But if you're thinking you've got 5-1, was 5-1 in the first game?
5-1 in the first game.
You got 4-0 at the moment in the second game, and then you're going to play against probably the best team in the group in the third game, when you're dejected, disappointed, probably starting to get tired going into the third game. It's a tough one. It's a tough one for them.
It's going to be a tough one for them. For Japan, that third match against Sweden is going to be one that could be absolutely fascinating, because Sweden will certainly need to get something from that match, you imagine. And Japan will hope to be challenging the Netherlands for top spot in the group as well. So a lot for both to still play for, as a free kick is blown for by the referee, and we're into the last minute of the 6th. And well, Andy, I mean, we've had, as we said throughout, the narrative of this match has been the contrast really of a side who know each other really well, know their relationship with their head coach really well, against a side who just really haven't been able to put that kind of game plan together.
Yeah, absolutely. Japan being really good, so cohesive, and lots of quality in there, and great team spirit that they've got, and you can see that. And just the complete opposite from Tunisia, so really different ends of the spectrum.
15 seconds of stoppage time, I make it to play, and Japan just happy to see out the last seconds of this match, just passing it around, a neat triangles in the centre circle. The last seconds of Tunisia's participation at this World Cup, and yes, they have a final group game to play against the Netherlands in 5 days' time, but that is their exit from this World Cup, having played only 2 matches confirmed. Tunisia are out of the 2026 World Cup. Japan with a 4-0 win over their opposition at the Monterrey Stadium, moving level with the Netherlands on 4 points at the top of Group F. 4 goals, 1 from Daichi Kamada, 2 from Ayase Ueda, and 1 from Ito as well. It's been a very, very comfortable performance for Japan, and that sets things up incredibly nicely for them for their final group match against Sweden in 5 days' time, Andy Reid.
Yeah, really big game that. Really big game, and one that you would anticipate to be very competitive to a team in Japan that are an excellent team, and then a team in Sweden who have some really dangerous individuals. So difficult one to call, actually, but judging by this game tonight, you would imagine that Japan will go in slight favourites because they've been really good tonight. And this game has been injured because it's been so contrasting. You've had one really poor team that they've struggled right from the first minute to get to grips with the shape, to get to grips with their organisation, and then the complete opposite then in Japan. They've been excellent right from the early stages of the game, where they've passed the ball well, they've ran, they've had energy, they've been organised, they've been structured, and scored some excellent goals, and fully deserved this 4-0 victory. Could potentially have been even more.
Hajime Moriyasu has made no secret of the fact that him and his side and the Japan Football Association talk an awful lot about targets for this Japan team, that they want to be a name in the conversation, to be winning trophies, to be winning World Cups. We talked about the fact that their next hurdle, if you like, is to win a World Cup knockout match, something they've not done before. They look well on course to progress to the knockout stages. Is it realistic to be talking about them being in contention for the latter stage of this tournament, given what we've seen from them in this match today and how comprehensive their victory was?
No, I don't think it is realistic. I still think they're kind of quite a way short of going, you know, towards winning a tournament. I think it's been an impressive performance tonight, but don't get too carried away. It's a poor Tunisia team, although, you know, credit to Japan, they've done everything they've needed to. But I definitely feel that they're well placed to be able to get into the knockout stages, and when they get into the knockout stages, they're definitely capable of winning a game or two in there. So loads of positive